Thanks for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show, Representative Biggs.
Howie, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
What can be done to get Michael Flynn out of this mess? I mean, why should this have to drag on for months more, cost him untold thousands, if not millions of dollars? How can this nonsense be ended? And I don't mean a pardon, because they would just throw that back in the president's face.
Yeah, and if it was a pardon, they would try to immediately find some kind of state charges to go around the federal pardon, that's for sure. What Congress can do, it becomes a little bit tougher because the House is controlled by Democrats. But what needs to happen here is the bare minimum. This guy needs to be censured, the judge, and we really need to be looking quite seriously at the way he might have violated his oath of office. And if he has violated it, then he should be impeached.
That's tough. I believe you serve in the House with the last federal judge who was impeached by the House and convicted in the Senate.
You are correct, sir. I do.
That would be Representative Alcee Hastings. I'm down in Florida right now. I drive through his district every night on the way home.
Well, Howie, he sits on the Powerful Rules Committee, for mercy's sakes, and he's a nice enough fellow, but I mean, he knows what it's like to be impeached as a federal judge. That's for sure.
Right, and convicted. Maybe he could have a chat with Judge Sullivan. What it's the embarrassment and the chagrin. Anyway, what is what's going to happen now? How soon? I ask this to everybody from Washington. How soon are we going to get something from John Durham? I mean, it's like waiting for Santa Claus to arrive.
Yeah, I always call him waiting for Godot, because you sit there and you wait on this bench, and I cannot tell you how many months in a row when people have told me, oh, it could be any day now, it could be within 2 weeks, could be a month. I don't know anymore. My super magic crystal ball is broken, and I'm hoping that it's soon. But, I mean, I was told just 2 weeks ago that they expect it soon and that it's going to be really explosive, and it hasn't happened yet, right?
Yeah. So, in other words, you don't know either. No one seems to really know. And
yeah, that's a long way around the barn to get there. But yeah, I don't know either.
I know. Alcee Hastings was nailed by a Boston FBI agent who later went to prison and died in prison for a gangland hit. And John Durham took down another FBI agent, so I know him a little bit. I've watched him in action, and I know he's really good. But boy, does he move! He moves slower than cold molasses, And he's got to get this thing done, before the election. It doesn't really matter if Trump loses; it's all for naught.
That's right. And look, I don't know what he's doing, but I would suggest and what has been suggested to me by obliquely, I should say, is that maybe he's looking at a lot of people doing a lot of things. There's so many chords here. This is wrapped more intricately than the inside of a baseball, with so many chords going in different directions involving different people. I mean, look, the 39 people or so that requested unmasking. You've got deputy undersecretaries of Treasury. You've got an ambassador of Italy. You've got an ambassador of Turkey. You've got people that have no business. You have to have a need-to-know and security clearance to make these unmasking requests, because then you have to petition the court. How did they get this done? How did they do this? And so I got to imagine that this is just a real spider's web type of conglomeration here of bad actors.
Yeah, and I guess probably some of the crimes were committed overseas, considering that Barr and Durham have been spending some time in Italy, which is the base of that guy Joseph Mifsud, who's sort of a mystery man here. And there's so many unanswered questions here too. I mean, where is Joseph Mifsud? Who is this woman Azra Turk, who was basically used as a honeypot against Papadopoulos or Page? I can't even remember which one now. It's you're right. It's a very complicated situation that there is. Now, did you hear Trey Gowdy today? He was on Fox and Friends, I think, or he was on the mid-morning show, and he said that the Trump family was unmasked on Inauguration Day in January 2017. Are you familiar with that?
I had heard that before. I did not hear Trey talking about it, but this is consistent with what we've seen. This is absolute deep state. This is absolute swamp land creatures trying to undercut President Trump when he was still President-elect Trump, and before that when he was basically a nominee. And this is why this has got to come out, and Durham has got to come out with some charges and some indictments and some prosecutions.
And you know what's also somewhat disturbing is that people like Clapper. I mean, he's on CNN, and you can't trust him. He's lied to Congress. He's lied to everybody. He says he can't come in now till there's a vaccination, but he says he can't even remember. I mean, it's just like it seems like he was just going through his emails or spinning the dial on the radio station. He didn't give any thought to this. I kind of tend to believe him on that. He was just unmasking anybody he wanted to.
Well, yeah, but again, you have to have reason to do it. You have to have security clearance. And what I see is a tremendous abuse of power here. And this has got to be resolved. The American people, they elect people to oversee this stuff. And we give the executive branch that we're supposed to trust. Well, trust has been shaken at the very highest levels of the police apparatus and intelligence apparatus of the United States of America. And American people don't trust Congress too much, and I can give you 3 trillion reasons right now why you probably shouldn't. But we have got to get to the bottom of this immediately, and we need to have some specific deterrence and justice, as well as some general deterrence. We've got to prevent this from happening again to anybody, because if they can do it to the president-elect, imagine what they can do to you, Howie, or to me.
I think about that whenever I'm reading in these stories. So what else did you want to talk about today, Representative Biggs? Excuse me.
Well, we could talk FISA, the need for an absolute overhaul of FISA, and maybe even I have a bill out there that would actually discard FISA and say, you know what you have to do? You want to spy on an American, you have to follow the Constitution, go to an Article 3 court, and obtain a Fourth Amendment due process warrant, and that would be the appropriate thing to do. We just can't get enough people to come along and help us with that in the bodies, and which is amazing to me because of all of the abuses that we've seen by the federal government and how they continue to happen, and it's coming out continually, drip, drip, drip. Even in this coronavirus era, we're still seeing it come out drip, 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 and thank goodness for Rick Grinnell. He's done a great job.
I'm with you totally, Congressman Biggs. I've read that one of the so-called reforms would be to have an advocate for the person who, the Mr. X or whoever it is, who's going to be the target of the FISA surveillance. But I mean, he will inevitably become as compromised as these judges or these FBI agents who have apparently just been inventing all the facts in their applications for a FISA warrant. I mean, the founding fathers had a pretty good idea that you can't trust human nature. So this is why you need checks and balances. And you're right. You need to go into a real court, a district 100%.
Court. Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's why James Madison said, "Look, you know what? If men were angels, we wouldn't need government. And if government was angelic, we wouldn't need the people overseeing it." But the reality is, we've seen so much abuse of power, and anytime you close and make secret, like the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court is. You are going to see people abuse their power. Whenever anybody has some power, thinks they have some power, they almost always abuse it. So we have got to protect Americans from it. That's the purpose of government in our system, is to protect individual rights. That's what we're supposed to do, and to protect the country from foreign encroachers as well. This notion that we can somehow modify and trim around the edges of FISA is absolutely ludicrous. And my problem is we're fighting folks in Congress itself who don't want to make any changes at all.
Are there any Democrats that are interested in this? I mean, I remember when Democrats used to be interested in things like civil liberties.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have. You had when this bill first came out of the House a while back, about 2 months ago. You had a significant number. I want to say 70, 80 Democrats voted no, and a mess of Republicans voted no. But there was a real bipartisan coalition voting against reauthorization. But then you had a significant bipartisan group saying, well, we're going to do it without any changes. It gets over to the Senate, and Mitch McConnell doesn't want any changes either. So it's this continues to go on and on. So that's one thing. The other thing, Howie, that we should really be focused on is this bill that's going to be voted on in the House tomorrow. That's going to cost an additional $3.2 trillion to the Treasury, and the Treasury has nothing in it. It's vapors in the Treasury, they've included every wish list. You've got some of the new Green Deal in it, or Green New Deal in it. You've got the nationalization of our electoral system. All of this is kind of in this weird package that Nancy Pelosi's put together that we're voting on.
I thought they said it was DOA. Is this her bill, or have there been any compromises so it can get through the Senate?
No, Howie. No, this is her bill. It should be DOA. My guess is there's a good chance it's going to come out of the House tomorrow. Now, Mitch McConnell said it's going to be DOA in the Senate, but I just don't want him to do anything crazy and say, well, but we're going to negotiate, and instead of giving her $3.2 trillion, we're going to give her $2.4 trillion. But we got this marvelous promise to do X or Y. You know, we tend to really do a circle firing squad sometimes in our negotiations. So that's something we need to really be watching, be careful of, be advocating. My position is not another dime. You really realize that by the time you've added the $4 trillion that the Fed's providing in liquidity, and you add the $3.5 trillion that the Congress has already approved, that's coming into this society already. Let's see what happens with that.
Has everybody forgotten about inflation or hyperinflation?
Not me, man. Not me. That's why I keep saying you add this much money into the economy, and you have the potential for inflation, of course. And inflation, a lot of people are confused about it. They think prices rise. Yeah, the right reason price rises is because your currency devalues.
Right.
For us right now, which is weird, we're in a weird scenario where the U.S. dollar still remains strong vis-a-vis the rest of the world, and that's because the rest of the world is in an economic malaise as well. But you can dilute the value of your money so much that you produce inflation, and scarcity is also going to push prices up. So you're going to start seeing beef prices and poultry prices and pork prices going up because there's a scarcity there. And so you got this food supply chain issue that we need to worry about. You know, Howie, this is why people think that I'm a little black rain cloud. I'm just nothing but bad news. But I still remain optimistic. We can turn this stuff around if we approach these things rationally, and I'm not sure that we are right now.
Yeah, maybe you ought to tweet out a picture of Weimar Germany, the guy in the wheelbarrow with the full of currency that's worthless, going down to buy a loaf of bread. You know, I mean, that's the ultimate in that's hyperinflation. But this is crazy, and I remember it from the 70s, and it was not fun at all. And I'm glad inflation's been gone, and I don't want it to come back. Representative Andy Biggs, good luck with stopping FISA. Good luck with stopping the latest bailout, and we always enjoy having you on the show. Thank you very much. That's Representative Andy Biggs from the state of Arizona.